Hi friends, and welcome to the Healthy Beyond 40 show. I'm Michelle, mom of 4 and military wife, and I'm passionate about helping women get healthy from the inside out so they can feel better and live their best life. Do you feel like you're struggling to lose weight and get in shape? If you're ready to develop healthier habits, exercise consistently, and lose weight sustainably, then you're in the right place. I combine my expertise from my doctorate in physical therapy to my experience as a health coach, personal trainer, and yoga teacher to bring you actionable steps for a healthy lifestyle. No magic pill here, so lace up those shoes and get moving. Hey friends, if you've been working out, sweating, doing all the right things and your body still isn't changing, this episode's for you. Today, I'm going to be talking about the real reasons workouts stop working, especially after 40. And or maybe you're someone who isn't working out yet. So this is also going to be for you so you can sort of learn some of these tips of do's and don'ts to help support your body the best way it can be supported. All right, so the first thing I want to talk about is more cardio isn't always better. I think for a lot of people, this was something that was like drilled into us, like this moderate intensive exercise we have to do for so long. And that was the main push of what the medical field was telling us to do. So when we start thinking about weight loss, we start thinking about cardio and we have to like burn these calories. But I remember hearing about a study where people who did a bunch of cardio, a big chunk of them actually stayed about the same weight. Some gained weight and some lost weight. Because a lot of times when we're burning a lot of calories at once doing cardio, our body actually makes us more hungry. We release certain hormones that do that. You might have even noticed that if you did a big workout, you were like hungry after and your body wants to consume more calories. And I even just looked up a study before I started recording this, and there was a study where it showed moderate intensity aerobics exercise that people did who were obese for 6 to 12 months only had a very modest reduction, and it was like 3.5 pounds or less in weight for, like the whole 6 to 12 months. So what the study found was that doing just aerobics exercise was not really an effective weight loss therapy. Of course, there are benefits to doing aerobic exercise. It's that it had modest benefits in blood pressure and cholesterol levels, but it's not going to be the only thing. And I think sometimes people focus on this like external thing that they can do instead of all these other pieces, right? Our diet, strength training. Maybe we don't know how to strength train and it seems overwhelming, so we don't want to start it. So we want to think about these other things that are going to make a difference. And sometimes when we're doing too much cardio, like I mentioned at the beginning, it can really raise our stress hormones and our cortisol. And if cortisol stays high, that's our stress hormone. Fat loss starts to slow down. Our hormones can get out of balance. Our metabolism isn't functioning efficiently. So it's important that we're not bringing our body into stress by doing too much cardio. So I'm not saying that you can't do cardio, but if that is like your focus or your main way to lose weight, most people don't find that way super successful. But I totally think you should still move. And I tend to focus more on movement. So like our steps or walking, we want our bodies to move a lot and we want to do a little bit of exercise. The next piece that I've sort of mentioned already is strength training really matters, especially when you're over 40. So when we do strength training, that means we are making our muscles burn. We are lifting weights. Sometimes it can be body weight exercises. We're putting a strain on that muscle. It can really help to support our metabolism because the more muscle we have, and we get muscle when we strain those muscles, the faster our metabolism is going to work. The more our metabolism works, the more we're going to burn fat. And the more we work our muscles, the more toned we're going to be. And you'll just look and feel better when your body is more toned. And it also helps with everyday movements like lifting, bending, balance, bringing in the groceries, putting something in a top cabinet. So strength really makes a difference when we're looking at our body composition and the different health benefits. It doesn't have to be extreme, but it has to be done the right way. And that moves into my next point is, especially when we're doing strength training, we need to get in that Goldilocks zone. So it's that sweet spot where we want to push our muscles so that we are putting a strain on them, because that's what says, hey, muscle, you need to grow stronger here. I'm putting a strain on you. That's how our bone health works too. When we do strength training and we put a strain on our bones, it says build stronger. And we definitely want to make sure we're doing that as we're getting older to prevent osteoporosis and osteopenia. But if we're also putting too much of a stress on our body because we're lifting too hard, or we're not using good form, or we're not breathing, our body becomes stressed and worn down. And then that can make us prone to injury. It can make us prone to some of those stress hormones I mentioned. So we really want to get in that right zone when we're doing strength training. We want to push ourselves, but not too hard. So I always like to tell my clients we want to make sure that we can breathe when we're strength training and that we have good form. Because sometimes we can do more reps, but we're either holding our breath or we don't have good form or having to get a swing in there to get something up. And so that is a stop. So if you're doing the same exercises and you're using the same weights for a really, really long time, you're probably not challenging yourself enough. Now there is a max, you're not going to keep upping and upping your weights. You are going to come to a plateau, but you can also work your muscles in different ways too, right? There's different ways to work our biceps than just a bicep curl, and our muscles like that variety. So especially after our workouts, when we're in that Goldilocks zone, we're not going to be wiped out for days after. Our body's going to be able to recover in between training sessions. And that also goes with we're giving ourselves time for recovery between sessions. The fourth piece here is sometimes workouts just aren't working because of our body or what is going on internally. So some examples here might be we're not eating enough protein. So we need to have dietary protein, so protein in our diet to build muscle. So we live in a very carb-heavy world where there's lots of carbs, so we have to make sure that we are getting enough protein and prioritizing that. So all this may not be working too if we're also overeating. If we are eating more than we need it, we're not going to see those weight loss effects that we want from exercise or that toning or that definition. We may also have hormone shifts going on, especially in perimenopause and the beginning of menopause. Our hormones are just all over the place. And so sometimes outside of our control, as those hormones are going up and down on this slower decline, it can sort of wreak havoc in maybe how we're feeling. We might be more tired. We might be more stressed. Our muscles may not be recovering as well. So some of that stuff is outside of us. But we have to come back to that point where we look at our body and look at where we are right now, and we're still doing those healthy things we know our body needs. Maybe we're not getting good sleep, and that can wreak havoc on our hormones and slow down our metabolism. Maybe we are in high stress right now because of our family or a situation or a job, and that's increasing our cravings. So there's all these other issues, especially when you're thinking about workouts and weight loss, that may be going into effect. And sometimes when I talk to people, they really like to narrow in on something, and it's sometimes not the right thing. Someone might think I need to do a bunch of cardio to lose weight, but maybe this person is not sleeping and they are super stressed and they're having all these cravings. So maybe that is what they need to work on first, is how can we get a little more sleep? How can we lower our stress? How can we start to manage these cravings? And maybe the cravings take care of themselves when we take care of the sleep and the stress. But really finding that thing, that reason why for you, because it can be different for everybody. And my fifth and last reason for today is sometimes when we do random workouts, they just don't build the results we want. So maybe we are just randomly putting together a workout program. We're just randomly on YouTube and finding different workouts, and we're not thinking of this whole body picture. And maybe we're not having consistency either. So we really want to make sure that when we're thinking about our workouts, that we're being very thoughtful about what we need, right? And if you've been listening for a while, you have probably heard me as my husband's in the military and we moved. As there's been different stressors in our life, like moving, I have adapted my workout for those time periods, right? Moving it's busy and it can be a big emotional stressor too. You know, you have 4 kids, no one wants to move, and maybe you don't want to move yourself either. So during those periods, I went to a little more yoga. I did a little less intense strength training. I also sometimes didn't even walk as fast because I knew my body needed more calm during those periods, right? Because if I kept pushing myself in my workouts during those periods, they were only going to increase the stress in my body and the cortisol, and it was going to backfire. So you really need to build your workouts around you in that sense. And also, we don't want to work just our chest muscles and not our back. 2 of my kids are 13 and 14-year-old boys, almost 15. And they got a bench press for Christmas. And, I don't know what it is with boys. You think bench pressing is super cool, but I'm like, all right, so anytime you guys work your chest, I want you to work your back muscles. So I showed them some exercises to do that too, because we don't want to just strengthen the front of our body and bring those forwards. We need to balance it by also working the back of our body. So we really want to create these balanced workouts for us in that sense too. And also that sense of, I want to do strength training. I want to do flexibility. I want to make sure that I'm getting movement and steps in. So it's really a lot of different pieces to think about, and it has to be individualized for you and where you are right now. So if you're struggling with this piece of really putting a program together that works for you, I encourage you to check out my personal training app. There will be a link in the description where you can look at it on my website to get more information. In my app, the workouts are planned for you and your body, your level, your schedule. This is all individualized for each person. And I always make sure to include full body, balanced strength training, front, back, all those muscles, different ways where we can work muscles harder, do some holds in different way, core and back, and stretching and mobility. And in the app, you're also going to have habit tracking and accountability to help keep you consistent, right? Because it may be something outside of working out that you also need to put all these pieces of your health together. And you're going to be able to message me in there and get that support you need and that accountability. So there's not guessing. There's no more starting over. You'll have a plan laid out for you. So if that is something you need to help you reach your goals for 2026, make sure you check out the link in the description. You can set up a free call with me to make sure that it is a fit for you. All right, friends, I hope that you enjoyed this episode. I hope that you're taking away a piece of information and making it personal for you, that you're internalizing some of this information and making a change in what you're doing, right? Because we can't just keep hearing things. We have to make a change. We have to take action. All right, friends. So keep on moving. Decide what that action step is for you, and see you next week.